Hey guys, I am super excited to be back filming another Girl with God video with you guys. I've missed you. I'm glad that you're sitting here watching this with me wherever you are, whatever time of day it is. We miss you over here. Let's get into this. This talk that I will be doing today is very near and dear to my heart, especially recently. I have been studying the book of Luke right now, and I'm at Luke chapter 7, and there's this story that really got me. And it happened one morning when I was Bible studying, and it really just hit me like a huge wave. And so this is how the story starts off. Jesus was at a Pharisee's house, just sitting there, and this woman, known for her sin, heard he was there. And she didn't wait for the invitation. She just walked in carrying her perfume, her past, her pain, her sins. And she knelt down in front of Jesus and she started crying. And she washed his feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair and anointed them with her perfume. I just want to pause there because she kneeled down in front of Jesus. Sometimes when I'm worshiping and I'm praying, not sometimes, most of the time when I'm worshiping and I'm praying, and those tears just form in my eyes and I don't know where they came from, I could only imagine when she sat in the presence of Jesus, like right in front of Jesus, the emotions and the atmosphere, and just I could only imagine that feeling, because we get a glimpse of that when we're worshiping Jesus sometimes, or when we're praying to God. We get those glimpses. But imagine she was sitting in front of Jesus and washed Jesus's feet with her tears, the desperation from each tear, the cry out to God from each tear, with no words, nothing she said to God, with just a love, guys, with just a worship from a broken place. Right? And it tells us in Luke chapter 7, 36 to 38, she was sinful and she learned that Jesus, and she just came with her jar of perfume. And it was just like a heartfelt moment, right? And then the Pharisee comes back and they're watching and they're looking like, a Jesus, do you know who that lady is? They're judging her. This Pharisee, they're judging her. And in the most Jesus way possible, like I like to say, he breaks it down like in a parable. He doesn't rebuke this lady. He doesn't tell this lady, like, move, shoo, get away from my foot, like some people would do. He tells this story, or a parable, because that's how he teaches to hearts, not just our minds. And this story is about two people actually, that are in debt, and one owes a lot and the other owes a little. One owed 500 and the other owed 50, and neither of them have the money to pay back. So he forgave the debt of both. Now, which of them will love more? And the answer that was the most obvious was the one that was forgiven the most. That's what Jesus asked the Pharisee. But Jesus isn't just talking about money in this moment. Jesus is talking about mercy. He's talking about the love that flows from a place of being seen and still accepted, right? And then Jesus turned to the Pharisee and told him this: but you didn't wash my feet with the water that you have. You didn't anoint me with the oil that you have. But this woman who sits at my feet hasn't stopped honoring me since she walked in. And in that moment, I feel like it was such a humbling. If I was the Pharisee, I would have really just said, I'm sorry. Like, my tongue would have been caught in my mouth from the humbleness Jesus just did in that moment. Because Jesus didn't ridicule him in a way like a mom may scold their child. He humbled him in the most, beautiful, poetic way. He humbled him, telling him, you didn't do anything for me and you have it to do it for me. And if I'm being very real with you guys, in this moment as I record, I was her. I was the woman. I was the woman crying out to God for all the things that I have done wrong. And I am still her. There are moments where I still am like that. I'm like, Jesus, I don't know if you're going to forgive me for this sin. Jesus, I don't know if you still have it in your heart, because it's the same thing we talked about over and over and over. And I keep making the same mistake over and over and over again. And sometimes I forget that I am her. Sometimes I forget that I am her. I just want to emphasize that sometimes we forget, the people that are watching this video, that we are her. We get so caught up in the doing, the serving, the leading, the showing up, that I forget the weeping. I forget the floor. I forget the nights where I'm breaking down in my room, crying out to God, telling him I cannot do this without him, that I need him to change and shift the atmosphere. Sometimes we forget those moments, and we're so quick, like the Pharisee, to judge what other people have going on, to judge the path of other people, to look at someone else's walk with God and say, you know what, you should know this, and that, when you forget that you're in a place where you were just like them, and you didn't know any better, and you didn't know your scriptures, and you didn't know how to pray, and the worship didn't come out easily. And sometimes we just judge that relationship that God has with other people. And I've had those moments. And then I tell myself, when I'm reminding myself, I also have those moments like the woman, where sometimes I'm about to pray and I couldn't even finish my prayer because the tears just start to flow. And it's just a crazy moment. But then there's moments where we get all put together again, like the Pharisee, and we forget. And we forget the desperation in our voice. And we forget the posture of the woman with the perfume. And we start acting more like the Pharisee than we'd ever like to admit. And that is where we mess up. Because we don't want to admit to ourselves, we don't want to admit to God that we're judging them for being sinful, for being worldly, not thinking that our sin is no greater than theirs. And we start measuring others by the standards we once couldn't even meet ourselves. We start to judge people over something we couldn't even do 2 years ago. I was sitting just like that woman. And I can't even, and she sat up here and gave Jesus everything she had, from the tears from her eyes to wash his feet because she was so grateful for him, to using her hair as a scrub, to the last bit of perfume that she had that would have been some type of worth money in these times, and anointed it with his feet. And we, the people that would have the water to get from the sink, that would have the oil that's sitting right there on the cabinet, that would have all of this, and that who knows God through and through, we sit there and we forget the place that we came from. And I just want to say this to someone. Maybe you're in the place like that woman right now, who was a sinner, who felt like, you know what, I don't know what to do. You're feeling like your sin disqualifies you from things, especially because you have people judging you like the Pharisee, feeling like you cannot even walk in the room with Jesus. But I just want to tell you this right now, that he already sees you. He already knows. He knows who you are, and he still lets you get close. He let that woman come and touch his feet. Right? He still lets you cry at his feet. He still welcomes your worship, even when it's messy, even when it's quiet, even when all you have left is just tears and no words. And that's the kind of Jesus we have. That's the kind of love that Jesus has for us. Not the kind that waits for you to get cleaned up. He doesn't want you to come to him perfect. He does not. He wants you to meet him in the middle of your mess, in the middle of your chaos. And if you've been walking with him for a while, do not lose your oil. Do not stop pouring. Do not forget your perfume moments, because that's where the intimacy lies. That's where the healing flows, guys. That's where grace meets us again and again and again, because we remember where we came from. We always hear people say that, remember where you came from. Remember how you were that woman. And sometimes I just realize a lot of us have to check ourselves, including myself, but we have to check our posture. Because I can be doing all the right things. We could be doing all the right things. We could be saying the right words, posting the right scriptures, but my heart has to be standing when it should be kneeling to God. And that's the part that he sees, not the performance of it all, of you posting scriptures and gospel songs, not the platform, but the posture. Am I still at God's feet? Or have I started standing in pride, forgetting the floor when he first found me on? And someone that talks about it so beautifully, I just always will shout her out, is Megan Ashley. And she just does a beautiful job with heart posture. And it's real, and I really would tell you guys, I'm sorry for stuttering, I would really tell you guys to go check out one of her videos. I cannot wait till the Lord blesses my tongue like that to talk about stuff like that. And I think it's so beautiful that God can easily identify how we are by our hearts. And it tells us that in 1 Samuel 16:7, people look at the outward appearance, like how the Pharisees judged the woman, but the Lord looks at your heart. It's easy to believe God, but it's hard to keep a pure heart. A lot of people believe in God. God is, the way maker. God is this and that, but it's hard to have a pure, clean, and good heart. Hard to stay humble, hard to stay soft, because life will try to harden you. People will try to label you, but that is where the real work lies. It's the daily sacrifice. And he tells you this in Romans 12:1. Offer your bodies as a living sacrifice and holy and pleasing to God. That is your true and proper worship. So, yes, I never want to forget my perfume moments, because that's where he met me. And he still meets me in those moments. Not in the spotlight, not in the applause, but in the quiet, tear-stained place where I am still pouring. God, thank you guys for tuning in, for watching, for listening to me yap about God. I love that. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.